Thanks to Product Elevation and Skills Matter for including me in this adventure. Hi, everybody. As he said, I'm Debbie Levitt. My company is called Delta CX. We're a full-service CX and UX agency and consultancy. And people call me Mary Poppins because I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away to where I'm needed next. Please find me online. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I stream live 2 to 4 times a week about CX and UX. I've got Tuesday office hours and some other fun stuff on there. We've got over 400 hours of video on the channel now. You'll see a little camera icon on the bottom of my slides, and that just means they're done animating. So if you like to take screenshots, now's your chance. This presentation probably runs about 40 minutes. So if I run out of question time or don't get to yours, my email is on the bottom of every slide. So you can please email me. I'm always happy to answer some questions for free. And this presentation was written to directly address UX practitioners. But I know some of you are from product managers, product owners. Welcome, please stay. This is for you too, though I may be more directly addressing the UX folk. And on a final note, you'll hear that I'm using the words CX and UX a little bit interchangeably. I don't have time today to tell you why I think CX is a better term for us. But just note you're going to hear both of them, and I mean them interchangeably. So welcome to Transforming Towards Customer-Centricity, especially where we're trying to be agile and lean. And agile and lean are really great in concept, but they're typically awfully executed. To help us battle this wherever we work, let's look at some of the core principles and definitions of agile and lean. Then we'll look at how we bring customer-centricity into both of those. Remember, this isn't meant to be a boring lecture. It's meant to give you ammunition for when you're struggling with people who can only see things in terms of how agile or lean something is. And everything I've got here is pretty Googleable. So if you're interested, check it out. So PSE is my term for products, services, and experiences. It's everything your company sells or offers. And lean defines value as the PSE provided to customers at the right time and at the right price. This is defined in each case by the customer. The stakeholder doesn't decide what has value. The highest paid person doesn't decide value. So we should be using our qualitative research to understand what customers need and what has value to them. Lean defines value added as something changing the PSE's form or function that the customer is willing to pay for, but only if it's done correctly the first time. When we guess at what customers want and then have to fix our PSE later, that's called lean waste. We're supposed to identify waste and then reduce or eliminate it. That's why it's called lean. Lean Six Sigma has a value stream map. It's a variation of a process flow diagram, and it maps out internal processes so you can find wastes. You could build one to show where guessing at what customers needed or stabbing at it by committee leads to wasted internal time and money. We've all had disaster projects, right? So you can then socialize how the process should go to have the least waste. Anybody who cares about lean should love that. Over 20 years ago, some people got together and started documenting how they thought software development could be more agile. They created 12 principles, and here's my favorite 4. Principle 1, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. That's directly linked to how valuable, easy to learn, easy to use, and life-improving our product is. Principle 5, give motivated individuals the environment and support they need and trust them to get the job done. You've got to hire great UX workers and give them trust and what they need. But lovers of Agile sometimes don't do that. They try to control how UX works, when we work, and who does our work. So that doesn't work. Principle 9, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Design matters. Make it great. Principle 10, simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. If we find that our PSE are going in the wrong direction, or if we're spinning up a project that doesn't really have customer value, we should reconsider, deprioritize, or cut that project. That's also lean. There's nothing in Agile or Lean core principles that say we have to go faster, faster, faster. Nothing says prioritize speed over quality. They say be efficient with a reproducible cadence. We must return our teams to customer centricity and quality over speed. There's more gold in the Agile Manifesto principles, like Principle 2, welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Can you imagine if any team at your company believed in this? Can you imagine if we stopped the project when we realized it was garbage or not quite right for the customer? Hands up, who's been building something somewhere they've worked and you realized, holy cats, this is going to be garbage? Can you imagine if the product didn't go live because we stopped it? If an engineering lead says it's too late to change something because programmers started it and we might as well finish and release it, that's not agile. Once we're questioning the customer value of this feature, we're supposed to stop everything so we can see if our requirements took us in the wrong direction, which also means writing better requirements, which means UX should be involved there too. Traditional flavors of Agile are correct in saying that we must collect feedback from customers to know if our product has value and is considered high quality by users. But Agile and the MVP model imagine that we have to collect that feedback after releasing our product, when risks and costs are highest. Since Agile tends to exclude CX and UX processes and professionals, Agile doesn't realize that we can get that feedback through early concept testing of prototypes. Teams claiming to be Agile burn time and money to learn very late in the game that we've gone in the wrong direction. Building something and releasing it to the public are high risk. We burned time and money having handfuls of engineers coding, testing, and deploying something that the public can see, that our competitors can see, that the media and investors can see. Paying customers don't want to be crash test dummies, and nobody wants minimally viable anything. The very earliest moments of project planning must already be focused on customers' needs. CX teammates should be part of project planning before we approve features that have low or no customer value. Agile typically defines quality as improved software performance, fewer no bugs, or meet stakeholder requirements. Agile typically defines done as completing the work we plan to do. It fit business objectives, it's coded, tested, documented, and deployable. Their definitions of quality and done seem to be self-reflective. Hey, did I do what I meant to do and it seems to be working pretty well? It's quality and it's done. But this is where we need to introduce customer centricity. Congratulations on writing working code, but does our product match our users' and customers' definitions of quality and done? Does it fit their tasks and needs? Did the system optimize or complicate a workflow? If engineering's code quality is high and it feels done, but the concept doesn't match what customers need, is it still quality? Is it done? Or was all of that time spent engineering the wrong so-called solution a waste of time and budget? Let's not congratulate ourselves so quickly. We must be careful to not use engineering's definitions of quality and done as our only definitions. This feature is not quality or done if the customer would send it back to the kitchen or leave it low ratings. A Scrum trainer and Agile coach posted to LinkedIn that a senior executive at a large corporation said to him, "This definition of done thing is like an insurance policy against crap." Yeah, the definition of done can embody risk mitigation, but only if you use customers' definitions of quality and done. If you only use engineering's measurements about engineering, you're missing the key to that insurance policy and risk mitigation. So what can you do to improve the definitions of quality and done? Well, first, write UX definitions of quality and done. Document and socialize these. If our designs don't meet these definitions, they're not ready, and they shouldn't be put in the backlog for engineering to build. Second, include your definitions of done in engineering's definitions of ready or done. It's not ready or done if it's not accessible. It's not ready or done if engineering got creative with our prototypes and built something that doesn't match our designs. Third, add a UX review column to your Kanban board, Jira, or whatever engineering's using. While QA reviews for bugs and does their acceptance testing, you're checking that engineering builds match CX and UX project goals and our definitions of done. Experience flaws are bugs that we need to catch early. Instead of thinking, holy cats, I've no time to review dev builds, work on finding the time to do this. It's collaborative, it shepherds high quality products, and it helps show the value and importance of a good user experience without evangelizing. Most Agile and Scrum infographics show the process, starting with the product backlog. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a slide visual mistake. Usually it's just the Scrum picture. CX architects and designs what ends up in the backlog. So before design work, we should have researched users, their context, support tickets, processes, and anything we need to find product opportunities, as well as to inform what we should even architect or design. That means your infographic really looks like this. The UX process takes place before vetted and finalized designs can be added to the backlog. Hey, are you recommending big design up front? I thought we were supposed to stay away from that. If you've heard UX work referred to as big design up front, it wasn't said by a UX professional, now was it? We have no reason to use negative framing around our own work. Remember our cognitive biases? Yep, there it is. Framing effect. This is what helps people make decisions or decide on risk based on whether something is framed positively or negatively. It's why we're told the positive frame that 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this product versus being told the negative frame that 20% of dentists recommend against this product. Big design upfront is a term that makes the UX process sound like something we don't want, to make it sound large, lengthy, and expensive, and something to avoid. Without critical thinking, we could agree, but then we'd have to agree that putting 6 to 10 engineers on a project for weeks or months also sounds large, lengthy, and expensive. Giving each other's work negative names isn't good for process, culture, collaboration, or outcomes. If you hear someone saying big design up front to refer to UX, say something. Also, design should be upfront. When else would you do the design? Build, release, then design it doesn't sound right. Admitting that design comes first shines a spotlight on the importance UX has and the power and autonomy it should have as its own domain. So often we hear that UX is slowing things down, or how fast can you get those screens done? These are great questions when our organization believes in speed over quality. Are you feeling bold? Next time you hear this, try asking this question. What level of quality would you like my work to be? If you would like me to do my best work, I'll need to estimate the time that I need to do this really well. If you would like lower quality work than my best work, you can have that, but let's get that documented. Let's make sure the risk register shows that I was asked to not do my best work, or I was not given enough time to do my best work. I'm curious how that conversation will go. Let me know if you try it. My email's on every slide. Let's make CX and UX more agile and lean. Many teams start with requirements and stories and feed those to UX designers. Designers then create wireframes and prototypes based on what's in those requirements and stories. This approach is called being feature-oriented. You decide the features first, and everything is planned around that. But what if the requirements or stories aren't a good match to users' needs, tasks, or realities? We may have created a lot of delay, waste, and risk. This approach is common, especially where teams previously haven't had any CX or UX staff at all. To improve efficiency and customer centricity, consider task-oriented design. It's been around for decades, and it looks like this. Task-oriented design means that the focal point is what we research and learn about real users' tasks, workarounds, knowledge, mistakes, mental models, and context. We can then define the overarching CX, UX, or product strategy. Armed with research artifacts and a strategy, teammates can come together to collaborate. UX, product, and engineering are triumvirate. can lend their perspectives and knowledge to planning the features and priorities collaboratively. From there, we can continue the user centered design process, knowing that requirements and stories were customer centric. Task oriented designs save time and budget that are wasted when requirements are a poor match to users, or requirements and stories need to be revised or rewritten to be more user centric. Customer centricity requires that you deeply understand people, context, and systems before deciding what to build. Thinking about risk and waste in products and how they're often really not designed for customers' needs, I saw this Venn diagram on LinkedIn saying that product managers exist in the overlap between product and customers where UX, tech, and business meet. Okay, but my question was, why doesn't the Venn diagram of product and customers overlap way more? The diagram indicates that we have a lot of product and features that don't overlap customers. That's risk we need to mitigate or waste we should cut. What product should we have that doesn't overlap customers and their needs? The part of the diagram showing customers not overlapping the product looks like we lacked business and customer intelligence that would understand users' needs and tasks. We're leaving money on the table by not solving for these. The Venn diagram should look like this. All product overlaps customers and their needs. Some customer needs are not yet known or addressed, so we have room for future product growth. With critical thinking, this diagram is not a celebration of product managers. It's a warning about mistakes our company is making. Perhaps an interesting 30-minute meeting would be to bring everybody together on the cross-functional team. Prepare a Miro board where each attendee has a circle for product and a circle for customers. Everybody creates a Venn diagram of how much these overlap at our company. Then let's ask each other why these don't overlap more. Show them the optimal Venn diagram. That should lead to a nice discussion about where we have risk, where we're lacking information that would guide us towards better strategies and decisions, and where we might be leaving money on the table. You will need to push to do dual or tri-track agile. Those are easy to Google, so I've just got one slide on them. Dual track agile recognizes that UX and engineering aren't working on the same things at the same time. On the infographic, UX is discovery and engineering is delivery, and you can see the assembly line in action. UX collaborates with engineering and others often, both before and after we deliver finalized work to the backlog. Tri-track Agile puts research on a separate track from design and architecture. The first track is working on research, strategies, opportunities, and artifacts from the research. These feed a second track, which is research informed. They work on project or feature requirements, user stories, architecting and designing the product, and testing and improving it. Notice that research informs requirements and user stories. That would be task-oriented design. As that work is ready, it's fed into engineering's world. This requires lots of planning. Engineering doesn't want to sit around with nothing to do waiting for us. We must get better at estimating our time. We must estimate our own time in planning and at every phase. Don't let project managers guess what UX workers will do and how long we need. This is how we end up getting 2 days to guess at wireframes when we wish we had multiple sprints to properly go through user-centered design. Remember that Agile is for engineering. It doesn't tell marketing or sales how to work. It doesn't tell corporate strategists, executives, or research and development how to work. You can make a very logical argument that Agile shouldn't be telling UX how to work. And that's really what dual and tri-track Agile show. They show us feeding the assembly line and being collaborators, but not being controlled by engineering. Like all of these other disciplines that Agile doesn't control, we're just on our own track. We often hear UX isn't agile, but this is easily explained. Let's imagine a team of 4 developers and 2 QA professionals. They want 4 sprints of work, which would be 6 people needing, say, 8 weeks of work. That's normal. We don't call that big engineering up front. But when UX wants 8 weeks to do something, this is sacrilegious. People clutch their pearls and cry, UX must be bloated, old-fashioned, and waterfall. So we assign someone from UX to the team. And at most companies where I've worked, my time was split between three projects. So not only does engineering expect something nearly immediately, but they expect it from one third of a person. And at many companies I've worked with, there are maybe four CX or UX researchers supporting every project the entire UX department is doing. I have to wait weeks for a researcher to be free if I need researcher testing. This staffing imbalance is completely inefficient and will never be agile. And sometimes this one third of a person is expected to do everything: research, interpretation, content strategy, competitive analysis, information architecture, interaction design, prototyping, visual design, and more. First, these jobs are completely unreasonable. Second, you're setting someone up for failure. There's no way someone can get all of that done well. CX work has to be done well. We aren't just checking a box that it got done. We should pursue a better way to work together and enhance agility. My Delta CX model suggests that CX architects work in pairs. They handle information architecture, interaction design, and prototyping. Your pair of CX architects will share one seat on the Agile team. Now you have that design skill, as nearly every flavor of Agile suggests, except you'll have someone actually competent and efficient at it. If there are two CX architects on the project, then if one is sick or on vacation, the other can do the work. The goal is to not be the bottleneck. The CX architect pair has its own research team. Hire someone with 5 or more years of specialized research experience and team them up with 2 or more junior or apprentice researchers. I know you're thinking, 5 people, Deb, we can't even get one. I know, baby steps, but to me, this is the future. I'm hoping that future research teams will also have a dedicated data scientist. This person can focus on more of the quantitative research as well as creating models of customer behaviors. Then we have what I call the satellite team. This is your visual designer, copywriter, and any other specialists that projects need, but usually not on a full-time basis. If we imagine that the architects and researchers are 100% allocated to this agile team, now you have a ratio of 5 CX architects and researchers to 6 engineers, or one engineering team, all embedded on and dedicated to the team. Some articles claim you just need one UX jack of all unicorns collaborating with an engineering team, and that's the standard to shoot for. That's not agile, and that'll keep UX teams small and powerless. My team of 5 might feel like a distant dream, but keep it as a goal. It'll be a standard someday. And this is a little bit different than what my book suggests, but I can't rewrite a book as often as I'd like. Let's visualize this using a real example from a corporate project we did at my consultancy this year. An e-commerce website wanted 2 new concepts for landing pages shoppers see when coming in from Google Shopping. We started with research. We took the time to understand customers' criteria before they even start shopping. We observed them shopping on Google, competitors' websites, and our client's website. We recruited people who've shopped with our client before and some who've never seen their site. We had a mountain of business intelligence that'll help this company strategize and provide a variety of ideas and features. We spent around 370 hours on research and 210 hours for 2 landing page designs and a few rounds of testing and iterations. Put one jack of all unicorns on this, even at 100% allocation, and 580 hours of work takes 19 weeks. Of course, that's not agile. And this would take way longer if the UX resource were allocated less than 100%. So what does this look like with my suggested team structure? 3 researchers sharing 370 hours of work could get that done in about 4 weeks. 2 designers working full-time on 210 hours of work could take about 4 weeks. Looking back at our unicorn, you might like the idea of hybrids or generalists who can research and design, but this ends up being a bit waterfall and high risk to have everything relying on one person and their health and availability. With the Delta CX model plus Tri-Track Agile, while researchers are doing thing B, the architects are doing thing A. We have a more efficient assembly line rather than waiting for one person to do the whole assembly line themselves. This means that our 580 hours of work could be done within 4 2-week sprints, given the size of the UX team we assign to the project. This helps with agility and takes the pressure off one very overworked person. And if our research set up our design team to design more than one feature, then if we need, say, 2 more sprints to design another feature, 4 weeks of work, we're ready to go. We need to be 2 sprints ahead, preferably more than 4 sprints ahead. But Agile can do this. It's just all about planning. And when we care about quality and outcomes over speed, then we've got to plan for the time that UX needs to get their jobs done well. Then engineering can expect UX work based on that thorough planning. Where would we get the budget for all of these new, well qualified practitioners? Well, you get it from what you're going to save in engineering rework, customer support not having to help people so much, and sales enjoying attracting and retaining more customers. If marketing has to spend more money to market a mediocre product, they would save money when our product is a better natural match to customers. Investing in CX helps you identify and reduce cycles of waste. You'll save on all the costs of poor quality when you release a better product in the first place. I've got a slide on that coming up. If we can staff at a 1-to-1 ratio or close to it, UX will be faster, more efficient, and more productive than we are now, which means we've been gaslit a little bit about being agile. The next time somebody tells me UX isn't agile, I'm going to ask them to let me team up at least 5 architects and researchers, give us 4 2-week sprints, and then tell me we're not agile. Inside the UX department, we've got to do a better job creating jobs that are more specialized. Stop asking for jacks of all unicorns. Assess candidates for every skill we're asking for. If you're asking for 10 UX skills and you only check if people make pretty screens or use Figma, you're not correctly assessing candidates. Just because a candidate says they have a certain skill doesn't mean they do it properly or well. And I recently released a completely free video training for HR recruiters and hiring managers to learn how to attract and retain UX talent. You're not even put on a mailing list. Check it out at deltacx.academy. We need to spend a few moments on some things that might hold us back. There are false gods claiming to be CX or UX models, but they aren't. They're the newest forms of evangelism, but they work against customer centricity. Aspirologies is my made-up term for approaches that don't deserve to be called methodologies. That's giving them too much credibility. I have hours about this and how to break people's addictions to aspirologies on my YouTube channel, but this is the microscopic version. The main aspirologies that you will run into are design sprints, design thinking, lean UX, which is neither lean nor UX, and democratization. Aspirologies have some common characteristics that you can easily recognize, like codependency. CX seems to need everybody to do their job with and for them. Disrespect of teammates' time. Aspirology workshops or exercises require teammates to stop what they're doing for hours or days. Reliance on assumptions. Aspirologies prioritize speed over quality. They increase business and project risk by running with guesses they think will save time. They often start with whatever a stakeholder says is our problem, challenge, or what we're building. Don Norman would say you have to reject that and find the real root causes. Giving specialized work to non-specialists. Aspirologies love workshops where CX and UX work is done by those without UX knowledge, experience, expertise, skill, or talent. But where else would we do this? We don't hold workshops where everybody, including me, co-decides the back-end database architecture. Democratizing or decentralizing UX is totally fake. Many non-UX roles demand to have authority and decision-making power over the user experience, but those roles aren't giving up power or decisions in their own domain. We don't have the cross-functional team all making engineering decisions. Magically, the cries for democracy are only for UX. They apply to no other domain, which is how we know this is fake. And of course, there's a lot more here. Fake team building. If aspirology workshops were really how we built teams, we would do them in every domain. We would have product, engineering, BA, and marketing workshops. But we don't, because high performing teams respect each other's specialties and play to each other's strengths rather than trying to turn everybody into a broad generalist. Fake customer centricity. We pretend that we really care about customers and their satisfaction, but we guess who they are and what they need. We don't observe or research the people we're building for. We pretend we have empathy or sympathy, but if we really cared about users' experiences, we wouldn't rush out garbage that doesn't solve customers' problems and improve their task accomplishment. Innovation and solution theater. How many never before seen world premiere ideas came out of these workshops? How many solutions were wrong, non viable, or were based on guesses versus being based on proper research? Vote for the winner. Somehow we don't all need to get together, brainstorm various product roadmaps, and then vote on our favorite product roadmap. And we shouldn't pick product features or concepts American Idol style. We run usability tests with real users. We don't hang designs at our desk and ask everybody to vote. Emotional outcomes. Everybody really enjoyed the workshop, but where are the real budget and ROI figures? What were our success criteria? Did we even have success criteria? Enough buzzwords thrown in so that it sounds like CX even when it's not CX. You'll hear about customer journey maps, personas, problem solving, prototypes, and testing, but it's all just theater. We're teaching leaders in our company that design or problem solving can take hours or days. If you need to solve a problem or design a product, just throw some people in a room. These teach us that we don't have to hire more UX specialists because we can all just get together and guess at solutions. Just say no to design sprints, lean UX, democratization, and whatever design thinking means this week. Aspirologies are the opposite of evangelism. They undo understanding of UX and respect for UX, and they undo customer centricity by focusing on speed over quality. You can't evangelize UX and teach teammates and leaders at your company that UX can be done quickly by workshops and templates and committees. Aspirologies are hurting our profession and the quality of what we deliver to customers. I can't wait until companies run more numbers on the costs of workshops and negative outcomes, and UX having to redesign it, and engineering having to rebuild it, and customer support dealing with the carnage. Then maybe these will go away. Let's focus for a moment on the problems we have when our workplaces want everybody to do UX work, and especially where they expect us to train those people to be better at UX research or design. When a product team needs another product manager, they request the budget for a product manager. I bet nobody higher in the organization says, perhaps instead of hiring an experienced product manager, let's just find a developer or marketer we already have and teach them some product management. I bet someone makes the case for needing qualified workers on their team and gets the budget to hire. Why aren't we doing that? UX. Every time you teach someone that anybody can do our jobs and guess at our work, you teach leadership that you really didn't need to hire that qualified UX practitioner. You teach them anybody can do UX work and it's easy to learn and do. Becoming proficient at CX or UX work isn't like a quick training on Excel pivot tables. You're asking someone to learn some or all of a specialized full-time job. Meanwhile, your company does not hire CX or UX workers with zero experience. You drew a line in the sand and you require UX juniors to have a year of experience, maybe more. That's like 1,500 hours of experience. Your company doesn't even want to train UX juniors, do they? They expect them to show up and hit the ground running on a project. So why doesn't that standard hold true for internal workers? Why aren't we holding business analysts, product managers, engineers, or marketers to that standard? Why are we giving UX work to people who wouldn't qualify to do a UX job at our company? We won't hire a newbie who already did months or years of training, but will take internal newbies and hope to train them? This is broken. We're not going to have the jobs, processes, culture, or customer centricity we want while specialized CX or UX work is done by anybody and everybody. We often hear UX is not speaking the business's language. We think that's a call for us to evangelize more, explain ourselves more, and invite everybody to astrology workshops. But it's not. It's people telling us that we're not giving them what they need, so it's hard for them to find value in us. The business's language is simple. It's money. The business doesn't make money from empathy, delight, and fluffy things, and diagramming what users feel, and come sit in more workshops and learn the value of UX. That costs the company money, all those workshops, but they don't necessarily make the company money. It's all about economics, money saved, money spent, and profits. The business makes money from concrete things, and you will need to show how you fall into those money saving and money making categories. That's ROI and saving on the costs of poor quality. But if we spend money on the costs of UX or CX in the forms of salaries, tools, and the time we want to spend on a project, where are we saving money? Where does your company make money? And how is this tied directly to us? A great model for examining and calculating the real costs of our guesses and mistakes is the cost of poor quality from Lean Six Sigma. Start with what the company spent internally on the project and all the time it took multiple teams. Marketing costs, sales efforts, training. What did it cost us to delay things and fix things? There's so much money being spent internally on this stuff. And then there's external costs. You might have to work with someone at customer support who can tell you about complaints, tickets, or issues associated with these features. Can we find numbers on customers who canceled or downgraded? Can we figure out the costs of MVPs and especially failed MVPs? Companies are sweeping the costs of poor quality under the rug, so they might not want you to shine a spotlight on it. You'll need to focus on agile, lean, improving efficiency, saving the company money, and improving customer satisfaction because everybody claims to want those. But document parts of projects that create any of these wastes or costs. Add it to the risk register or documentation. Bring it up in retro. Agile is about constantly reflecting on how things went and then actively making improvements. Tie everything you do to business intelligence and risk mitigation, and anything you can tie to money saving, money making, reducing risk, and avoiding the costs of poor quality. Business intelligence allows companies to create better strategies, goals, and initiatives. They'll have the right information to make better decisions. In order to deliver business intelligence, risk identification, and mitigation, we've got to focus teams, projects, and our company on customer centricity and accountability. Good news, nearly every company claims to already want these. You have nothing to sell them that they don't already think they want. No evangelism needed. Part of customer centricity is the research that will deliver the business intelligence and risk identification. Creating better products and improving internal processes delivers on what we're promising. The trick will be to show leadership where we're falling short on these so we can create change. You'll have to dig up some numbers and outcomes from projects that failed and delivered a poor customer experience. Showcase these as wasted time, money, morale, customer trust, customer support, marketing dollars, sales efforts, and more. Showcase these as what happens when we aren't customer-centric. Later on, when you get more customer-centric, hopefully you'll have examples of when we did a better job. So where do we start? Move away from evangelizing UX and do you want UX or UI because they're not the same? Nobody cares. Let's shift this away from us and towards prioritizing potential and current users and customers. You've got to be a low ego action hero. Stop talking about delight, empathy, and things that seem very emotional, touchy-feely, or woo-woo. This is a business that wants to make money, and we sound like we're on another planet when we use these words. Ultimately, customers will be delighted if we understand their tasks and needs and build what improves those. Delight is the side effect, not the goal. Focus on business intelligence, risk mitigation, customer centricity, customer satisfaction, and accountability, because everybody claims to want those. And talk about how we can't create the right business strategies or initiatives if we don't fully understand what customers' needs and tasks are. These business goals and customer needs shouldn't be two disconnected islands or barely overlapping. We've got to adjust our goals. If you have advocates who understand the value of UX, and even if they don't, but claim to care about customer centricity, that's your lifeline, your sponsor. Find the people whose jobs are supposed to be customer centric. They're often in marketing. Whoever they are the people you have to work with strategically, like getting everybody on the same page about quality. How do we know when it's time to release something or spend more time on it because it's still low quality? How do we understand and measure this internally so our process tells us when something is not yet done? You've got to go to high level or executive sponsors and advocates with a strategic and tactical plan. You can't say, we need to be more customer centric. What do we do now? You've got to have a detailed plan so you're asking specifically for action and change. UX directors and higher are supposed to be able to create those strategies and plans. I'm not familiar with your org, so I don't mean to insult anybody when I say this, but if for some reason you don't have that leader in place who can create those strategies and plans, I can help. Get in touch. If you've got people, get on it. UX is last slide. UX maturity is really customer centricity. If your team doesn't care about customers or likes to guess about them, your org is probably low maturity. When companies truly care about customers and believe in taking time for good qualitative research and feeding those insights into strategies, initiatives, products, projects, etc., then it's high maturity. But stop telling companies they're UX immature. We're not going to win any friends that way. Let's focus on customer centricity, customer satisfaction, loyalty, and everything that supports the end-to-end customer experience. Thanks for that. You can find me at deltacx.com and learn a lot more, but I will use my last few minutes to take hopefully one or two questions. And sorry, I went a little bit over. What do we have for questions, friends at Product Elevation?
Debbie, thank you very much. So we have two questions. The first one is, how do we get leadership to buy in on this transformation?
Yeah, certainly it's not always easy. And just know if you cannot convince them, that is not your fault. There are people who are very resistant to change. So you might need a course on change management or creating change, but you're going to need, this isn't something necessarily a researcher or designer can do. You're going to have to find managers and directors before you can go to those higher level leaders. And as I know this question was asked about halfway through, and I had that last slide about working with sponsors and allies. And ultimately, to me, the way that we get more buy-in is to not explain UX in these fluffy empathy terms that are so common right now, but to hit the business where they care. Money, money, money. We are about business intelligence. We are about risk mitigation. We create customer satisfaction and loyalty by building the right things for customers the first time, because that's going to save time, money, sanity, morale, customer trust, and a whole pile of other things. So hopefully remember, many leaders and execs haven't heard that our projects are disasters. They hear we're very agile and things are going well. So somebody's going to have to tell them, yeah, we're kind of agile, but things aren't going so well. So it's going to require some honesty and accountability, which I know is scary, but we're going to have to go there.
Debbie, here's one more question. So Teresa is asking that we switched from the generalists like web designers to experts, UX researchers, UX architects, UI designers, and now generalists again, UX designer, product designer. So she's asking, do you believe that this is going to change again soon, since it's proven that one can do all, and industry trends are mostly defined by big orgs with big budgets? Why do you think this happens?
Yeah, you're not allowed to answer the question. So basically, I do believe this is going to change. And I actually have an article on this. It's called The Coming Shift and Correction in CX and UX. You can Google that, find it on Medium. It's called something like that. So two answers to the question. Number one, I believe there's going to be a split in UX between jobs that are clearly production designer. Hey, you've got half a day, make us some wireframes. That's not UX. It's kind of web design. I think we're going to split between the production designer, just take orders job, and what I like to call the children of Don Norman problem finders and problem solvers job. So number one, I am predicting a split between these two, and everyone has their comfort zone, and we need both of these people. One's not better than the other. We need people who can just run with something and get it done, and we need people who can be problem finders and problem solvers. As for the generalist, hybrid, T-shaped specialist question, I believe in the as I said in my model, the researcher and the architect, and separately the visual designer. But what I think a lot of people forget, because we use these single words, researcher, designer, is that these are already hybrid jobs. These already require generalism to some degree. Research requires you here. Let's put up my little user-centered design. Research requires generative, evaluative, exploratory research, planning, recruiting, scheduling, execution, analysis, synthesis, insights, opportunities, task analysis, optimized task flow, service blueprinting. So that's already, to me, kind of a combined job that requires a lot of different skills and abilities and specialties. What we now call designer, or I like to call architect, is also a T-shaped hybrid job. It's information architecture, interaction design, and prototyping. We no longer give these to separate people like we did 10 or more years ago. So I believe that we're going to end up with these kind of semi-specialists where we have researchers and we have designers. And I usually don't suggest that we combine these for the reason I said in the slides earlier, because first of all, it's hard to find someone really good at both until they're really further in their career, or because it ends up being a bit waterfall. I can do research and design, but we can wait for me to do the whole thing, or we can get multiple people on this and be more of the assembly line that Agile needs. So whether, I don't care at this point what you call any of these. I believe that research and design jobs are already hybrids, but I don't believe that we should do more than one of those jobs, because there are already 3 to 7 jobs built into them, and we're already stretched too thin. So there you go. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, please contact me. I love hearing from people. Add me on LinkedIn and join me on YouTube.
Thank you very much, Debbie. There is one more question that I personally would like to ask.
Cool.
How do we measure this customer-centric success? How do we prove that we actually got the numbers?
Yeah, there's a big problem with that right now. There's lots of people writing and speaking about ROI of UX and just show the metrics. And I go, that's a fantasy, because that only works if the entire team agrees that UX gets the credit for the metrics. But on these cross-functional teams, it's usually thank you engineering, thank you product manager or owner, thank you business analyst, and then somebody made it blue. And we're not getting the credit that we need. So what I think is that a great place to start for UX to start being more closely associated with metrics is to partner directly with marketing. Get a couple of UX teams to go over to marketing and say, marketing, what are your problems? What are your pain points? What are you not getting done? You want more conversion? You want more loyalty? You want more trial people to become paid? Give us 4 to 6 weeks, and we want to do some research. We're going to learn things about your customers that surveys don't tell you, that NPS doesn't tell you, that A/B testing won't tell you. And I think if we can start with marketing and show, yes, of course, engineers are going to build it, and maybe a product person gets involved, but I think there it's going to be a little bit more direct, that working with UX made this happen. Working with UX made these desirable metrics go up, or improved things for the customer, improved things for the business. Remember, work on metrics that show the customer's doing better and the business is doing better. But I think to try to prove ourselves, we should start with close partnerships with marketing and solve their problems through user-centered design, including research, architecture, testing, iteration, before any A/B testing. A/B testing is for performance. A/B testing is not for design. So I would say that's a way to start to prove to your company that there's something in taking weeks to do this correctly and have much better results than marketing just guessing at stuff because of what a survey said.
Great. Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you for the great talk.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting. And thanks to, again, everybody at Product Elevation. Hope to see everybody in the Delta CX multiverse.